Once the surveillance system has defined its objectives, it is necessary to have a strategy and a structure that can carry out the necessary activities and achieve these objectives. There are some events or situations where the objective of surveillance is to identify all cases. For example, at the beginning of an outbreak of a new virus, as happened with COVID-19, with a new virus, it is important to understand how the new virus affects individuals. So, what are its symptoms and signs, how severe disease looks, and what works and what doesn't work to treat it. Additionally, we need to understand the risk factors for severe cases. Also, when a pathogen is to be eliminated, all cases should be identified in order to carry out the best control and prevention strategies. A universal surveillance strategy is when we seek to find all cases with a condition of interest. In some countries, which are small, universal surveillance is the usual practice. In these cases, surveillance and sample collection must be aligned with laboratory capacity, and this capacity must be prepared to continue to function under stress, such as when there is an epidemic or when there is a shortage of reagents. Sentinel surveillance is chosen when there is extensive circulation of a common pathogen and the objective is to mitigate or lessen the damage. In this case, sentinel surveillance takes a sample of the total population. If this sample represents the population well, we can generalize the results. Sentinel surveillance uses fewer resources, and if the population sample is representative, it correlates well with the results of universal surveillance. For sentinel surveillance, we would select a few health centers and hospitals to identify cases, collect data and samples, and we would analyze these in more detail. It is also appropriate in our setting in the Caribbean to perform sentinel surveillance throughout the year, as, due to our location in the tropics, seasonality is not so well defined. Respiratory virus surveillance systems require a network of health centers, and it requires the collaboration of clinicians and other health workers in these centers to identify cases, to collect the necessary data, and to take samples. Even when you have a sentinel structure in place, however, all health centers must be sensitized to identify and report unusual cases or events, like an unusual presentation, increased severity, or even a possible avian influenza case. In addition to the sentinel sites, a laboratory or a network of laboratories, either in the country or in a partner country, is needed to carry out the analysis of the samples that have been collected. Finally, some of the positive samples must be referred to the WHO Collaborating Center, and by doing so, they will contribute to the characterization of the relevant vaccine. Data analysis and interpretation skills are also required for surveillance. All data which are generated are compiled, analyzed, and interpreted. This can happen in different spaces, for example, in health centers or in laboratories. In any case, the data are always analyzed and interpreted at the very highest level, which is at the level of the Ministry of Health. Surveillance systems must maintain fluid communication between the different actors who are involved in surveillance. This communication is maintained through the information system, which traditionally has been paper and postal mail, but in recent years, with advances in technology, has come to include online, multi-user, real-time updating, and automatic analysis. It is important to document the respiratory surveillance strategy and structure. It is also ideal for the country to have a legal framework that protects and supports this structure. To this end, it helps to have a manual. This manual will define the objectives, it will define the strategy and also the structure that will support the activities and the communication between the different actors who are involved in the operations of the surveillance system. It will also contain guidelines that standardize the work dynamics and how information flows and how samples flow. In this video, you have seen how to develop a sentinel surveillance strategy for respiratory viruses. You have seen the components of a sentinel surveillance system for respiratory viruses. You have been introduced to the importance of legislative support in granting authority to the system, and also to the importance of documentation.